uh, how your day was, because I am excited about the content that we're about to actually display on today. You guys are talking about the fast track to wealth, that we're talking about and we're doing, guys, and it's very instrumental. I think in each person's life that we actually should be able to actually have life and live life on our own terms, the way that we should and the way it should be. So, guys, very quickly, let me make sure that we're live across all the different platforms, and then we're gonna go ahead and get started.
Yes, ready to be free. Welcome. Good evening, everybody. Good evening. Thank you for all the shout outs. We appreciate it.
All right, and we're live. All right, so guys, real quickly, what's going on, Paula, Pastor Jamal? I want to bring up my chat over here so I can see the people's chats on social media. So you guys let me get that set up real quickly and we'll be ready to go. Dr. Jackson.
Yes, sir.
What is Be Free University?
Really?
Yeah, what is it?
Be Free University. We got to think about it.
Oh, you about to get in trouble.
No, I'm not. I know exactly what we are. Here at Be Free University, we empower, educate, and equip individuals to build wealth and live life on their own terms.
You better say it again, guys. That's what I'm talking about. Guys, that's exactly who we are and exactly what we do. And we're so excited about being able to introduce Fast Track of Wealth to really almost the entire social media on all the platforms that we're going to be on. And, for me, I just feel like that they just trying to get my lighting right. That's all. They're trying to get me straight. That's all. So if you turn the dimmer down, so I feel blind. But you guys, when we start talking about building wealth, it sounds good to a lot of people, but I really don't think a lot of people believe it's possible. And that's one of the discouraging parts, right? For me, all right, got the chat up. And that is because it really is possible. It really is possible to build wealth. It really is possible to have that life that you've always dreamed of. And, for me to have been where I was 8 years ago and where I am today, it took a lot of effort, took a lot of hard work, a lot of grit. But along the way on that journey, you guys, I discovered that, that all rich people got a whole lot of things in common. And those things I want to show off my shirt. Hold on. Like show off my shirt and my hat. Hold on. Anyway, I found out that on the journey that, all rich people have, really 5 things in common. And so I looked at those 5 essential elements and said, if this is true for all rich people, then why are we not teaching this? Why are we not doing this? Why are we showing people this? And everything that I discovered are things that are not taught in basic schools or even your upper schools. And I looked at it and was like, why? What is going on? And so, we developed, not only Be Free University, but we're now releasing what we call the Fast Track to Wealth, you guys. And we say this and we mean it. If you give us 7 months, we'll change the next 70 years. We really, really believe that if you give us 7 months, we will change the next 70 years of your life. But listen to me, when I say give us 7 months, you guys, that means literally, I need your commitment. I need your dedication, not to be free, but to yourself, to say, I'm going to live life like I've never lived it before. And I want to take time to invest in myself so that I can live the life that I've always wanted to live. And, a lot of people look at that and they like 7 months is a long time. But y'all, colleges ask for 4 years. And I think to really ask for 7 months to say that it's going to change 70 years, when you weigh the comparison, there is nothing to compare. It is Say it again. Nothing. There's nothing to compare. It's literally peanuts compared to what's going to happen in your life. The problem is that, you know, I had a discussion with somebody earlier today, right? And I was sharing with them how it takes sacrifice to get the things in life that you want. And I don't want to go into detail with the conversation, but anyway, the average person is weird. And this person was dealing with, no, I'm sorry, the average person is normal. This person was weird. She's young, just turned 21 years old. And she was having some difficulties with her being very organized, self-motivated, self-driven, and the people around her were not that way. And it was eating her up to say, you know, that she was so driven and then the people that she loved was not. And I was trying to explain to her that you are an exception. You're weird. And that the average person is not self-motivated. The average person is not self-driven. The average person has been, I don't know another word, programmed, brainwashed. I don't know another word for it.
Hoodwinked, bamboozled.
Yeah, to literally follow the 40-40-40 plan, right? The problem with the 40-40-40 plan is that it conditions you to not want more in life.
So the 40-40-40 plan, we somebody said Snickers. Oh, I love my students.
That is it.
I love our students because Snickered, exactly. George, we mentioned the 40-40-40 plan. I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I'm trying to foster a conversation. We mentioned it last night, but we didn't tell anybody what it was.
See, I was having technical difficulties and I couldn't hear you yesterday. So I didn't know if you went into that 40-40 plan or not because I couldn't hear you. So tell them what it is while I get this lighting straight right quick.
Really?
Yeah.
Just ask you to tell them what it was. So you guys see how this works, right? You see how it works. You get put on the spot. You got to always be ready. You guys know, some of you, well, we mentioned it last night, but the 40-40-40 plan, right? What happens in the 40-40-40 plan? Where are my BFU scholars? It is Snickered. That's good. That's what we're going to call it. Instead of the 40-40-40 plan, we're going to call it Snickered. So what do you do? What do you do? What happens, guys? What happens in the 40-40-40? I'm waiting for the answers. I'm waiting for the answers before I start. I want to know who knows what we're talking about. What are we going to do? What are we going to do for 40, the first 40? What's the first 40? Somebody said 40,000. No. No.
They don't know?
I'm trying. I don't see the chat. Do they know?
In the chat, I see 40K and I'm looking on social media. Sam is on
40 years of work. 40 years of work. Okay. You work 40 hours a week for 40 years to retire and live on 40%. Okay. Come on, George. You like to put.
I'm gonna turn my head around, you guys, because the lighting is just really causing a shadow here. I usually have a light here. And
I need you to break it down for them.
All right, so here's the deal, y'all. And you know, Sheila, we're just gonna make this a conversation if that's okay.
Exactly. I'm waiting on you because right now I'm talking to myself.
All right. So what happens in life, y'all, is that so let me tell you, yeah. So I pause because you always tell me I take the long way around. Like you always long-winded, right? And so I wanted to set it up, but I'm like, okay, your shit is gonna kill me if I be too long. So
just explain it. Just explain it. What is it?
All right, so guys, we're conditioned. We're conditioned to do this, right? We're conditioned to go to school, get a good job. So go to school, get a good education, so we can get a good job, right?
Right.
That's typical. But along the way, they tell us, hey, a good job is going to, you're going to work 40 hours a week. That good job that good job is you're gonna work it for 40 years, which now that ain't even true in our society, but it wasn't even true back then. And then after you work 40 years, what they don't tell you is that you're gonna live on 40% of what you made when you're already living check to check.
There
and so
you go.
Here's the problem with that whole formula though, is that let's just call me G Money. All right.
Wow.
I'm G Money and I'm the neighborhood dope dealer. All right. I always try to figure out how you get new crack addicts. To this day, I can't figure that out. Because I would think that people would know. I can't figure out meth, heroin, crack. I can't figure out none of that, right? What's up, G Money, right? Because this is the deal. If I tell somebody, hey, try this, and the first time you try it, you're probably going to be hooked on it. You're going to steal from your people. Your teeth are going to fall out. You're never going to get employment, and you're probably going to end up dead or in jail. How do you sell that? But you get new crack addicts every single day. I cannot figure out how do you get a new meth addict, a new crack addict. I don't understand it. It's like, you know what? I'm having a bad day. I think I'm going to smoke crack. What? Like, I just don't get it. I don't get it. I'm sorry. But I said that to say is that while we look at that and it's like, yeah, I don't get it. I would never do that. But we did it. We fell for the 40-40-40. It ain't gonna say it's the same thing, but it's just as devastating. If I tell you, right, Sheeta, right, I'm about to sell you on something. If I tell you, hey, I want you to go to school and get good grades so that you can get into a good college that can cost you $80,000 to $120,000. When you come out of college, you're going to have to look for a job that's probably not going to be in your field. And that job is going to actually only pay you $40,000 to $60,000 a year, even though you got $80,000 to $120,000 in debt. You're going to live check to check for the next 40 years. And you're going to have to, if you're sick, you got to call in. If somebody dies, you got to get permission to go. Like, you only don't get so much time to grieve. Like, if somebody told the truth about this really education system, this work system, this economy, who buys it? Why would you ever buy that?
But we're in place where we almost have to in the beginning of it. But now that we have no control over the fact that we must send children to school. And most people cannot homeschool them or afford to send them to a private institution. But even in that, I mentioned it last night, and maybe you didn't hear me. The conditioning starts in preschool. Because they go to school. Watch this. I woke my daughter up this morning. I took her to school. She had to be to school at 7:45. She got to school. She started class at 8 o'clock and she was dismissed at 3 p.m. How many hours was that?
It's 8 hours. I'm just going to guess. Was it 9 to 5?
So what's the average? Right. With 30-minute lunch.
Oh.
So what exactly. So what is already happening is they're teaching them how to get up early in the morning, go to one place and be there for 8 hours a day, eat a lunch in 30 minutes, right? Go back to the process and repeat it every day for 5 days a week and have 2 days off.
I remember when I was at Spring PCS, working there while I was in college. And I remember standing in line in the cafeteria, and I promise you, it was like an epiphany happened over. This is not made up. This is not exaggerated. It's like an epiphany came over me. And I'm like, this is back when I was, a little wild. I was like, this is the same beep that I did in high school. Like, it just hit me like we're standing in line in a cafeteria for lunch. This is the same thing we did in high school.
With only a small amount of time, a limited amount of time before you got to be back on that phone or wherever you were in Spread PCS, right? Or there was going to be a problem. And not only that, you can't get out of line and skip anybody. If we just break it down to the minuscule things, they teach you how to line up in a straight line and wait your turn. So how do we not like, because you equated it to crack like you selling us something, but how do we not buy the 40-40-40 plan when it's what we wake up to and what we're systematically trained to do, even in traditional education.
This is why I called it programming. This is why I called it brainwashing. You called it hook week. You called it bamboozled. Paula called it the snicker. You've been snickered. That's why I called it that, because it's like, bruh, we were conditioned for this from birth.
Yeah.
I'll tell you this, right? So I just Googled Rockefeller in the school system, right? And I just picked one of the articles that just came up. And my computer's acting really, really, really slow today. I don't know why, which is one of the reasons I was delayed. So please forgive me. I was here 15 minutes earlier, but when the computer's slow, it's like this page ain't even loaded yet. Like, I don't know. And I'm plugged in. I just realized that the enemy don't want this message to go out, that he's a liar and he's defeated in Jesus' name. All right. So amen. Wow. So I'm going to share the screen with you, Rashida. I mean, tell me if you can read it, okay?
Yep.
I've never seen this article, so we're going to discover it together, right? This is not one of the ones I researched. Can you see my screen?
It hasn't come up yet. It's still black. There it is.
Okay.
Schooling versus education.
What does it say about that?
Our schools are never going to be fixed because they are already doing what they're intended to from the beginning.
This is a quote by John D. Rockefeller. Can you read that for me, please?
Don't want a nation of thinkers. I want a nation of workers.
So when the system was actually being formed the way that it is, you guys, John D. Rockefeller, and I'm waiting for it to come down here. John D. Rockefeller, I believe, gave $180 million. Now, today, that's not a lot of money. You know, $180 million, but y'all got to understand this was 150 years ago. $150 million is like $1 billion today that he just dumped into the school system. And literally, he programmed a bunch of workers, not thinkers. So when you start looking at how we ended up in the system that we have now, and how 80% of all, or 78% of all Americans today live check to check, is because we were conditioned that way. Guys, you were never intended to be free. You were intended to work until you die. Matter of fact, I'm going to play this movie right quick. I want to play this clip. I've always wanted to play this clip, and I've never been able to. Tanya's probably going to kill me. But it's on YouTube. All right, it's on YouTube. If y'all don't know, I'm a big kid. I love cartoons. Like, I don't care what you say about me. You can talk about me if you want to. But I think some of the best messages, best clean, fun, and laugh is in cartoons. And they always got a message in it, right? And I think a lot of times, what is going on with this computer? I don't have anything open, and this thing is really just lagging. Just lagging. All right, let's see. By the time I get to do one thing, the thing I was trying to do before that finally comes up. Have you seen the B movie, Rashida?
Yes.
What did you think about it?
I love it. And I know which clip you're about to play as well.
If I can get it to come up. I'm trying to close out the other ones that I got open just because.
So while he's doing that, guys, do you know, has anybody seen the movie? Is it The Bees?
The B movie.
The B movie. Have you guys seen that cartoon? While you're doing that, because right now we have dead silence across the world.
I'm just gonna give up on it because I ain't gonna waste time. Okay. Here it is. I love this movie. I know you can see the smile on my face, right? I'm just a big kid, y'all. It's just taking forever. I'm probably
because right now we have a lot of dead space.
well, fill it in, girl. We don't never have a conversation. I have a problem talking. Never, ever, ever, never. And so, guys, one of the things that that we're formed to do is to teach you not to do what you're about to see, right? Because it's funny because it's true. Y'all ever seen The Best Comedians? The reason that it's funny because it really is true. Like, all right, I'm gonna share my screen right quick, and I'm gonna share my screen. All right.
You got it?
Yeah, I got it brought up, but it's lagging. It's just sitting here like, yeah. Like my computer is so, man, I got top of the line computers, and yeah, it's just lagging.
You gotta pay close attention.
Let me make sure I'm sharing my sound. There it is. I'm sharing my sound. If it ever played. Oh my gosh. Am I just impatient? Is this thing taking forever?
Okay, I'm gonna do it for you. Can you take your screen down?
You got it?
I got it.
All right. I stopped sharing. This is gonna take a minute to stop sharing.
All right, guys, because Jordan he's dead on that he's gonna play this video. So I'm gonna do it for you guys so that we don't keep holding everybody and looking like we don't know what we're doing.
Most bee jobs are small ones, but bees know that every small job, if it's done well, means a lot. But choose carefully, because you'll stay in the job that you pick for the rest of your life.
The same job for the rest of your life? I didn't know that.
What's the difference?
Huh?
And you'll be happy to know that bees as a species haven't had one day off in 27 million years. Woo.
So you'll just work us to death?
We'll sure try.
Rashida, I promise you, that's me. I'm the like, wait a minute. This don't make sense. Like, he's the only one. Everybody else is like, he like, this ain't making sense. I'm that guy. Like, like.
No, seriously, but you don't know until you know, right? You don't know that something is wrong because you're following everybody else. You don't know until you know. And when you know, it's like, this is
Snicker.
bamboozled, hoodwinks. I've been tricked. I've been set up. It was set up to do exactly what it was set up to do.
Yeah. And so what we do is get to literally reverse that train of thought. Right. And so one of the things Be Free that we do is that we feel like we got to deprogram you and then reprogram you, because all the stuff that we've been taught literally is foolishness. But we believed it because that's what everybody's doing. That's the norm. That's what everybody's teaching. But everybody broke. Everybody trying to figure out how to make it. And you got a slight few that have made it and they won't share the secrets. It's like, you know, like, I mean, how you do it? Oh, man, just put in a lot of hard work and effort, man. You can do anything. But how do you do it?
Yeah. That's good. But that's a good conversation. So literally, we've had people come to us, and everybody's just like we had Sam. Like he spent almost $30,000 he was going to spend to find out that if you just believe, you can achieve. People fill up rooms, they fill up coliseums to tell people if you just believe, you can achieve.
Now everybody say it with me.
Do it, huh?
Now everybody say it with me. If you just believe, you can achieve. All right, that'd be 35,000.
Yeah. But how do I do it? How do I do it is the question. So, Mr. Howard, tell us how do we educate people? How do we empower and equip them to do it here at Be Free University? How?
Well, for me, I feel like there's 5 things that all rich people got in common, right? I call them free people, because at the end of the day, guys, it's not about the money, it's about the freedom that money allows you to have. So, there's 5 things that 3 people have in common. And that is, number one, they don't have a job. So let's just put some people. Jay-Z, does he have a job?
Nope.
Beyonce?
Nope.
Damon John?
Nope.
Rihanna?
Nope.
Oprah Winfrey? Tyler
Definitely.
Perry?
Nope.
Elon Musk?
No.
Jeff Bezos?
No.
Warren Buffett?
No.
Like, these are like all of the, I ain't say all, but these are like the names that come off the top of your head when you start thinking about rich, wealthy, free people. None of them have a job.
But we have to define, maybe we have to explain too, George, because people think, yeah, they got a job. They got a job. Jeff Bezos got a tax return. He got a job.
That's number 2 on the list, though.
Yeah.
And number 2 on the list, guys, is 5 things they got in common. Number 1, they don't have a job. Number 2, they own a business or a brand.
There you have it.
But here's the deal. Nobody in high school or college talks about ownership.
Nope.
They talk about resumes. They talk about jobs. They talk about promotions. They talk about interviewing skills. They talk about how to rank up in the company. They talk about how to read spreadsheets and reports. They never teach you literally ownership. They don't even mention it. It's never even brought up.
Not in you, and you said high school, but in no school, they don't teach you ownership.
College, yeah.
They don't teach you ownership. That's another thing that sets us apart from everybody else. We
People
literally
gonna think I'm playing and they think I'm playing. Like, this is a real conversation. I put it on everything I love, right? Y'all remember back in the day, you'd be like, man, I put on everything I love, right? Seriously, this is a real conversation. Like my first day at Purdue University, I'm sitting down and I'm with my, I had to sit down in front of a counselor. It's like, okay, what do you want to do? Because you're trying to pick your major, right? What do you want to do? And all this, trying to put my schedule together. And I got there late because I was at another school. And then we were in the process of saying they had any scholarships available for wrestling. And so they was able to give me one of the scholarships, right? And so I came a little late. And so I got my dorm and all that kind of stuff. Okay, go get your schedule. So I went over to see the counselor. So what do you want to do? And so at that time, I wanted to own a hotel. And so I'm like, hey, I want to own a hotel. And he was like, okay, so you want RHIT? And I'm like, okay, what's that? He was like, restaurant, hotel, and international travel. And I'm like, no, I don't want to do that. And he's like, well, you say you want to own a hotel, right? I was like, yeah, but I don't want to do restaurants. He says, no, they'll teach you all of it. You'll be well-rounded. I'm like, no, I don't want to learn how to run a hotel. I want to own the hotel. He was like, well, you got to work at it to learn how to own it. I said, no, I'm going to hire the person that went to RHIT. I want to know how to own it. He said, oh, you want business management? No, I promise you. This is exactly, I said, no, I don't want to learn how to manage anything. I want to learn how to own it. He was like, we don't have a school like that. This is Purdue University in 1994. University. One of the premier schools, especially in the Midwest, of names, and literally came back and said, we do not have a school like that. And for me, I went with business or management. First, I went with liberal arts because I was like, I'm just going to be undeclared. So he's like, all right, we just put you to school of liberal arts. And they started putting them papers and books on me like Jane. I was like, you start reading them. I'm like, I'm not reading these books and I'm doing all these papers. I don't want to do this. So yeah, I changed my major altogether because I can't write or spell. So So that was the wrong major for me. That wasn't going to work. So I ended up going to the school of management, and literally they don't teach you how to run anything or to own anything. They teach you how to manage it or how to be promoted or things to that extent. And we were in Florida with you, and we ran into the waiter at the Black Rock. And he shared something that even to this day, it just kind of doesn't make sense to me. So I'm glad I have a witness, which is you. Pastor Knox was there. Natalie was there. So all of the executives were all out to eat. And he said that his roommate owns the company. His roommate, when he was growing up, is the person who owns BlackRock. And I'm thinking to myself, and you're the waiter? He said, man, I remember when he first came up with the concept and I told him it wasn't going to work. Like, nobody wants to cook their own food on a rock. Like, that's dumb. And I'm like, so you was there from the inception? He's like, yeah. And so I'm thinking in my head, like, why in the hell are you the waiter? If you were there from the inception, why are you the waiter? And so then he said that this guy's whole family were nothing but entrepreneurs, nothing but business people. You remember that, Sheeta?
Yep.
And then he comes back and says that this guy now owns a fleet of them all across the country, BlackRocks, and that one day he wanted to own his own. So I said, okay, so you want to own your own? What are you doing now? He says, I'm getting my MBA. I said, okay, how's that? And I kind of chuckled and said, how's that going for you? He said, they're really not teaching you how to own a business. Is that a real conversation that we had?
It is. It absolutely is a real conversation.
Then he said the guy that owns all the restaurants never went to college. I'm just going to let that sink in for a minute. Came from a background of nothing but entrepreneurs, never went to college, but owns all these restaurants, came up with a concept. The guy who was literally in the room when he came up with the concept was now his waiter, and he's going to get an MBA, not even learning or thinking that if my roommate didn't go get an MBA and he got all of this, why am I going to get an MBA? Like, it just doesn't process for me, because MBA is not going to teach you how to own. It's going to teach you. It
doesn't make any sense at all.
Does not. And so the difference between us and what B does is, guys, we want to teach you how to own. And the reason why is because number 3 that everybody that's rich has in common is that they all have something called passive income. Every last one of them that we just named, whether it's
right, he's working for his example, but he won't follow the example.
That was good.
One of the reasons, and just to interject there, George, so we can have a conversation, one of the reasons may be that he's afraid. He thinks that there's security in the 40-40-40 plan.
Well, there is. I'm never going to argue with that. There's a lot of security in the 40-40-40 plan. But that's the thing. We are sacrificing our future for security.
Yes.
Because we want to be comfortable. Because we don't believe in ourselves enough. Watch this. I don't believe enough in my dream or myself. I'm going to sell myself and my time so that I can help somebody else build their dream.
That's the truth.
And again, I'm the little guy in the beat that's like, wait, this don't make sense. I don't get that. I really don't. I remember I was working for Circuit City. And no, I wasn't. I was working for Nations Bank. I just moved to Nashville. I was the regional vice president for Nations Bank. And they got bought out by Bank of America. And so they sent me to Atlanta for this training. And so they had like these restaurants, but they were all underground. And no matter where you went, the lines were like 20, 30-minute waits. They had to give us an hour for lunch because you was going to wait in line for 30 minutes. And I'm looking around, and it's probably like 8 or 9 of us at this table because we all came out of training. We all went to the same place. And so we're sitting around, and we're like, man, this place is busy. Look at all the people, right? And so they were like, you can open anything down here, and it would be a success. And so they started going around the table saying, what would you open? So they got around, what would you open? Oh, I'll open a Pizza Mart. I would do this. And they got to me, and I was like, I don't want to open nothing down here. And they was like, why not? I said, I want to own it. Because the people they're working. I don't want to freaking work. I'm sorry. I don't. I want to work really hard right now. And I don't ever want to have to work another day in my life.
Awesome. And we got people on here tonight that literally came to find out how to do that. So I want to shift you because I know we might be taking the scenic route. Let's talk about a fast track to wealth and what it is.
Okay, let me finish my 5 points. So number 1, they don't have a job. Number 2, they own a job, right? They don't have a job, they own a job. Number 3, they got passive income. Number 4, they got dividends, which means they own stocks, so passive income, right? That's where you work for your money, right? You set up something hard once and it works for you forever. And then you got dividends. Dividends is where your money now works for you. So I own stocks, I own something in the company, I own some kind of equity, something where my money's working for me, and I get paid in dividends, right? And then finally, guys, they pay very little taxes. And so if everybody that's rich, everybody that's wealthy has the exact same thing in common, why are we not teaching this? Why are we not learning this? What's going on? This is not a big secret. Like I'm not that, so when I sat down and started thinking about it, I said, well, if we're going to actually start teaching people how to be free, how to unplug from the system, we have to not only teach those principles, but we have to give them a guideline. And
Right.
so I remember when we first started this, we had the 1-3-5-7 plan that was years.
Mm-hmm.
Remember that? The first year is going to be this. Then by the third year, you're going to be here. By the fifth year, you're going to be here. And in 7 years, we got you. Guys, God literally gave me a plan that in 7 months. So the first month you'll be here, the third month you'll be here, the fifth month you'll be here, and the seventh month you'll be here. And that's what Rashida's been really trying to press me to get to you guys. We call it the playbook, run the play, right? Fast track to wealth. And that's really the core component of Be Free University. And that is taking 7 months of your life. Let's train you, let's deprogram you, let's reprogram you so that you can actually, watch this, make money while you're still learning. And by the time you complete the 1-3-5-7 plan, that you're literally in a position where you can never have to work another day. And now you just build upon what you've done the last 7 months.
Yep.
It's absolutely incredible. So the way that actually happens is that in the first month, and I actually had it pulled up, but I had to shut it down when I was shutting all this other stuff down. So Sheila, let me bring it back up one more time. I'm sorry. But when I was trying to shut some stuff down, and unfortunately, I closed that document. But it's right. So, guys, inside of this plan, what we did was that we went back in and we said, how do we begin not only to execute this, but how do we let other people do it? And so I had to look at my own life and I had to say, well, George, how did you do it? And, I did it through real estate. I was blessed enough to live in an area where I could buy property for $500. And, I took advantage of it. And so instead of kicking it and playing and, buying gym shoes and cars, I put my money into real estate. And so now, the real estate has really paid off for me in ways that, are more than imaginable. It allowed me to open Be Free University, right? And it just came up. So y'all, it's slow. I'm sorry. But there's so many other ways to build wealth. So, there's a young man. Did he take it with him? I think he took it with him. He was over here earlier. He's trying to sell me a Vivint system. And Caucasian male, but I like him. I like his personality. So I've been entertaining him in between meetings. And I was sharing with him. It's like, hey, what, really down there, our guys knocking on doors, meeting people. And I was sharing with him. I said, man, what do you want to do? Right. And he began to share, some of his goals and dreams. And I was like, well, how are you going to get there? And he talked about getting an MBA. Same conversation. Right. And so I was taking time really to kind of pour into him. And like, that's not the key. Right. We own Be Free University. This is what I'm doing. This is how you do it. Because there is another way to get there. And it's not through just an MBA. And so I was sharing with him, he's 20 years old. And I was sharing with him, said, man, your generation is so blessed and you guys don't even know that you're blessed. I said, because when we were growing up, the only way to compete with a major business is that we had to have a brick and mortar company, a brick and mortar building. And so you had to have a whole lot more wealth then than you do now. You had to, like, you know what it takes to get a brick and mortar building and get the inventory and get the POS system and do the marketing and then hire the people and all that. Guys, it was almost impossible to build wealth. But today, the internet has made, it is the great equalizer, right? It has allowed you to compete with major businesses, even though you're a startup. And so, I was sharing with him, I said, there was no such thing as Turo when we were growing up. We didn't have anything called Airbnb growing up where people were literally making, $15,000, $20,000 a month, renting rooms that they don't even own.
Right. That they don't even own.
Right, but they getting paid. If they're going out here and buying cars and making other people pay for them. For example, we was in Atlanta. What car did that young lady say she had just bought?
Lamborghini truck.
She said, we bought a Lamborghini truck. I think she owned it, 2 weeks?
No, less than that. It paid for itself in the first week.
Well, not itself, but she said that I think she had made in a week, she made $20,000 in that week or something. It was ridiculous.
No. She was making $20,000 a night.
No, it wasn't in the night. It was a week.
No, it was $1,500 a night.
Yeah, that's what it was. It was
$1,500 a night. And it was already rented enough to pay for the cost.
That's exactly what she said. She said that it's already booked up every night for the next 2-3 months or whatever. She's like, they paid for my Lamborghini. And I was like, are you not scared that they gonna tear your Lamborghini up? And she's like, I got insurance. Y'all, do you realize what it would have taken to own a Lamborghini in 94? Today is different. Everybody can own a business. Everybody can get into real estate. Everybody can do digital marketing. Everybody can trade. And so, when we started looking at this Fast Track to Wealth program, I said, we need to, first of all, we got to deprogram me from all this ignorance that I used to teach people, right? And I taught people ignorance. Well, they taught it to me, right? And so they taught it to me. And so I'm thinking, that I know what I'm talking about because I done been to school and they done taught me this stuff and I got these certifications. And so I just came out and started teaching everybody else. And it wasn't until I really had this kind of epiphany, it doesn't work. And I respect Dave Ramsey for what he's been able to do, honestly, because I used to teach the same things he taught. But Dave Ramsey is a damn fool. I don't have another way to put it.
Okay.
I don't have another way to put it. He doesn't. And let me tell you why. Because number one, I think he's a hypocrite. Number one. And I say that because the things that he's done now, he did it with debt. But he preaches debt-free living. The $1 million of office that he owns in Brentwood, Tennessee, there was a mortgage on it. The businesses, the empire that he built, he did it with debt, but he teaches debt-free. And then he comes back and tell you don't need credit. Okay, so here's my question. And for those of you on social media, those of you in the room, how many of you guys agree that you don't need credit? I'll wait.
You ain't about to get us like that.
It doesn't work. It doesn't work. You need credit, right? And so when you start looking at things like that, it's like, bruh, I used to teach it, right? I did. I was the guy. I was a debt-free king, man. You be debt-free. That's what you need to do. And I still agree that you need to get rid of all consumer debt. Them credit card bills, that furniture bill, that student loan bill, that car note, all of that is not making you any money. You need to get rid of it. Boom, bam.
So
When you go ahead.
Quick, I need you to pause the live stream and start it again because the comments and the sharing were turned off because of the B movie. So you have to stop it and play it again. But
I told you don't play that movie. I noticed when she'd have played it, right? I told you don't play that movie. All right, let me turn it back on.
So anyway, not to not take you off of your thing, but I'm getting text messages. So with that, guys, it's all relative, right? So just like this is a intermission, it's an interruption simply because somebody owns the content that was played. And although it's on YouTube, it's owned by somebody. And because of that, they claimed our video just now on Facebook. So you've got to realize that you've got to have credit. So why did I even talk about them claiming the content on Facebook? Because here's the thing, we did not give credit, right, to the person that produced that video. If you are not given credit, if credit is not given to you, then you're not able to leverage it, to use it to build. How can you have debt-free living without having some means of credit? It doesn't work. I tell people, I always say cash is king. I say credit is king and cash is queen, because you need both of them, but you need to have credit. And credit is better than, I think, was it better than a good name, or it's likened unto a good name, because your credit enters into rooms before you do. So people already know what you're capable of or capable of doing before you are. You are not allowed, and I spent